everybody. Welcome to the Electronic Playground Podcast. My name is Jake Livinggood, your host today, and I have a very special person here who I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey, I'm Eric Jones. I'm running for Congress in this beautiful district. It's California's 4th Congressional District. It's 9 counties. Up in my, I won't say what my favorite counties are, but we're up north and we're having a lot of fun.
We might be in his favor. I don't know. Obviously politics is something that you're working on right now, but do you want to let people know a little more about you, what you've got going on outside of the politics?
Sure. So I was a wealthier kid growing up. I grew up in a military family, and I feel really lucky because I feel like I've lived the American dream. I was the first in my family to go to college. I moved to California when I was 22. My wife, we both started businesses, and they've taken off. If you had told me 5 years ago that this is where I'd be, I'd tell you I'd gone insane, because I was really, things are going great. Things are going great. We have an amazing family. My wife's business is crushing it. She's doing wonderfully. She's an architect and a builder. Most of my work have been in healthcare. But it's gotten so bad in our country today. The politics in our country have gotten so bad that I think about my childhood and my upbringing and this belief and this hope in America that even though we had it rough, we knew that there was a future there for us. And I just want that future to be available to this generation, to the next generation, to kids across the country. I want to get that American dream hope back. And I don't see that in our political system today. I see a lot of hate. I see two parties that really just want to trying to make us hate each other. And I see so little focus on the future and how do we build something together. So I'm doing this because I see political corruption and a bit of corporate greed having crowded out any hope we have for the future in our country. And let's bring that back. Let's get back to who we are, which I believe is, a country that's wildly compassionate, but also focused on business and growth and entrepreneurship and creation and creating the future, and then handing it to the next generation. Like, that's who we are as Americans, and I want to see our political system reflect that.
Is that why you're diving so deep into the communities?
Look, there's like politics up here and there's politics down here, right? And the politics up here is what you see on MSNBC and television, but the reality is when politics hits the real world is where it's most important, right? When it comes down to things like roads and permits and public safety and just a well-functioning government that you can trust. So I learn the most just talking to people, talking to voters, knocking on doors, talking to businesses, right? I've learned a lot about PG&E and all the various ways in which they could be doing quite a bit better for our community. I learned a lot about how hard it is to start small businesses in California. Learned a lot about permitting and construction and all these things. So the idea is, I love being in the community, A, because it's fun. B, because I'm a dad, I have 2 kids, like rolling the kids around and having ice cream is always gonna be fun, right?
Okay.
4 and 1. Well, my son's about to be
5.
those
are babies.
Oh yeah, my son's about to be 5, he thinks he's 10. My daughter is 1.5, and she's amazing. I mean, they're both amazing.
Oh, very good.
But I feel so lucky. But going around the community, talking to small businesses, understanding their realities and how we can help, like, to me, that is what politics should be, right? It's about people, it's about business, it's about community, it's about building something, and that's the fun part. Doing like the stuff up here with the party politics, that's less fun than just getting to the nitty-gritty of people's lives.
For over 25 years, Cal King Pest Control has helped families and businesses throughout the Yuba Sutter area keep their properties pest-free. As a family-owned, licensed, and bonded company, they're known for dependable service, honest communication, and experienced technicians who truly care. Call today for a free estimate and ask about their summer specials for new customers.
We've been with them since 2008.
Thank you for your loyalty.
And thank you for taking such good care of us.
What do you think makes our community so unique?
I feel very lucky that I've seen so many different sides of America. I grew up in a town of 500 people, little farm town.
500 people?
Yeah.
There's that many people at the mall.
Yeah, I know, right? Tiny town. I've lived in cities. California obviously is a little bit, it's a big place. What I love about here is that it kind of reflects all of it. You've got this amazing diverse community that's come here across not just recently, but like hundreds of years, right? It's a business-focused community. It's this sort of vibrant, loving, just very entrepreneurial feeling, and that's what I love. It's a community that feels like it's growing, and it is growing and thriving, and I love seeing that too. Obviously, there are challenges, but I'll say the energy here, just the actual energy in the air, is incredible. Whether it's the Peach Festival that I was at last weekend, or the Junior Livestock Auction, there's just a real sense of community energy and belonging, and a real sense of like American entrepreneurship. People have pride, and they want to create something and pass it on, and that feels very specific to this area for some reason. I can't tell you really why, but when I talk about the American dream, I feel like I sense it here. I feel it.
It is here. It's alive here. My neighbor, he grew up in something called the Campo, not too far from here.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of immigrants go and live and work when they're trying to, make their way. And he talks about living there with his whole family in a small room. But now as an adult, he's got his kids living with him. He's taking care of his parents. He owns 5 houses. He owns multiple businesses. And when I talk to him, I'm like, man, I cannot see you living in the camp in that type of a struggle, but that's the journey. They were able to find that here in the Yuba Sutter area, and it's really incredible. I myself have that same type of journey, growing up with just a mom who was disabled. I didn't have a lot of education originally, but when I leaned on my community, they leaned back and they uplifted me. And ever since then, I've always felt like I could do anything I wanted in this community, and it's been really beautiful.
I love what you just said, because we talk a lot about bootstraps, right? In America, and pulling yourself up, but that's step one. And then it's pulling yourself up, and then when you have other people who see you doing that, like, oh, like, this is a guy, this is a gal who is doing this for the right reasons, and they see like the energy and they see the dream, and then the community piles in and helps. And now you sort of built like your support, right? Like, you got to get it started yourself. You got to rev your engine. But then once you've done that, to get the community behind you and know that you have that, like for me, that was my public school, my church growing up, right? And I knew that community was behind me, even though it was a really small community. But it's awesome to hear that, right? And that's what our country should deliver. Right? When people put in the work, we should have a system that rewards that. So it's awesome to hear your story, and talked a little about your brother on the way over, but it's just kind of great to hear about your family.
Thank you. I was trying to talk more about you. It came out a little bit about me.
That's a good conversation, man.
Let's talk a little bit about small business.
Yeah.
I think when I met you previously, you talked about being a business owner. Can you give me a little bit about what that's like?
Sure. So my wife, I mentioned, is an architect, has her own practice, does some building as well. I've built a few different businesses in healthcare, principally in women's health. We did some work in mental health, and then a lot of my work has been in senior care and working with state and federal governments on how to bring more care into rural parts of America. So I have a core belief in healthcare, which is that you can accomplish the impossible, which is we can make people healthier, make people happier, and save money. We can do all 3 of those things, because healthcare is something where if you can invest in someone and they can invest in themselves, and you can give the power not to the insurance company, but to the person and the nurse and the doctor to manage their own care and really think about their own health, you can make someone healthier. And when someone's healthier, they don't go to the hospital as often, they don't get sick as often, they're healthier later in life, they don't fall and break bones. And what that does is actually save the system. As the United States or a country or community, saves us money. So a lot of the work I've done in healthcare has been focused on that idea, right? To use maternal care as an example. You can give a mom a doula, a therapist, and nutritionist, and even an extra gynecological visit. All that costs money. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, we've shown through one of my businesses, Maven, that you can lower the risk of gestational diabetes. You can lower the risk of preeclampsia. You can lower the risk of a C-section. And all of that makes moms healthier, makes kids healthier.
The system is less impacted.
And the system's less impacted.
Wow.
So it's you give something up front, and then you actually save money down the line because you have a healthier outcome. I use, my father is a disabled veteran and had 5 back surgeries. And he ended up through that, having an opioid addiction, and it was the 90s, and that stuff was, they were giving that like,
Oh yeah, just throw it
right? Just throw exactly, literally, like every time I walk out of the doctor's office, another painkiller. We've now shown that if you can save a back surgery, you can basically give someone unlimited physical therapy. Because a back surgery could cost $150,000. And by the way, they often don't work. Often you need a second. And if you can do physical therapy and work with someone to actually relieve their pain in alternative ways, that's going to be way better of an outcome as a back surgery, right? We've shown this even with therapy and mental health. Like if you can make people aware of their mental health at a young age, and as they go through life, like they're better employees. They show up to work more. They're happier. They're more productive. And we haven't even gotten into kind of senior care more broadly, but a big part of my platform and a big belief is that Medicare today is supposed to be free. You pay for it, and then you turn 65, and it's supposed to be this agreement that you have with your government that, hey, I've been paying for this my whole life, and now it's time to kind of get the care I deserve. And a lot of people turn 65 and they realize, wait, Medicare doesn't cover vision care, doesn't cover dental, doesn't cover hearing aids. These are pretty basic forms of health care. That's
Part D that's not included, right? Part
and
D,
there's all correct, and then you have Medicare Advantage, and people get confused. There's whole industries around trying to explain how this works. But the point is, if you give someone a hearing aid, they will be healthier. You lower the risk of early onset dementia by 50%.
I learned that from my friend who owns a hearing aid store,
right? And so they're necessary. So and they save us money because people are healthier and they're happier. They can stay in their homes with their grandkids. So to me, that's another example of how you can do things up front and actually help people and save money.
It's a very smart investment.
It's a smart investment. Healthcare is a great place to invest. Unfortunately, we're really a lot of waste, a lot of inefficiency today because a lot of it's being run by the insurance industry and not by doctors.
And insurance is more reactive, right? Like that's everything after the care, right? Or preventing more care.
And at the end of the day, these are, they've stopped thinking about the patient and just focused on their own bottom line and in the very short term. And we got to start thinking about the patient again, people again.
If you were talking to someone here in your area about starting a business, what's the kind of advice you would give them?
So there's a process, particularly as a young person, figuring out, hey, what are the things in my heart and my soul that I know will energize me every day? What do I want, And that's, sometimes it takes people decades to figure that out, but the things that energize you and that you want to, and the person you want to be and the work you want to do in the world. And then there's opportunity, right? And what does the community need? Like you may have the best idea in the world, but it's not a fit for the community, or it's not a need, or you have 3 competitors doing the exact same thing, then it's not going to work, right? So I think some entrepreneurs and some business owners think they think kind of inside out, right? Of saying, this is what I want, this is the thing, this is my dream. And then some folks think outside in, of they're always observing and they're saying, oh, that's a problem that needs to be fixed. Or why don't we have this here? Or I see something elsewhere while on vacation, like, oh, we could have one of those here, right? So I would almost, for folks who want to be in business and start a business, kind of map both those. Like literally write a piece of paper and say, like, these are the things I know I would love doing, right? And write them out. And then these are the problems that I observe. These are the needs that I observe. And if you can find that match, then you have something really interesting, right? And sometimes it may be, by the way, that doesn't mean you have to have the experience or the skill set. You can go find someone to help you with that. You can find a buddy who has more experience in the area and lend your experience. But the pairing of those two things, I think, is a good model for thinking about how to start something.
Yeah, for me, if I was going to give somebody advice, which that's great advice, by the way, it would be to lean on your community more. Join the Chamber of Commerce if you do have an idea that aligns with your community. Do reach out to other businesses. For me, I started in insurance because I loved insurance, but when I got into it in my community, there were a lot of people doing insurance, unfortunately. So trying to write policies, getting into life insurance, it was really difficult because there were already so many wonderful people doing that in our community. So there wasn't a huge need for additional insurance. So I focused heavily on marketing my business, which I really love that aspect of insurance. I started running ads, figuring out, well, first I started paying people to help me run ads, and they were terrible. I'd run an ad, and then someone would call me for CBD gummies, and I was like, this cost me $100, and do you want insurance for the CBD gummies? No? And I could just never get it dialed in. And then whenever I talk to the marketing companies, they tell me, you know, you got this many impressions, you got this many views, and I was supposed to celebrate about it. But for me, it was like always the KPI of like, am I selling something? Is there a transaction happening from this, or is it just some type of branding that doesn't really turn a fold?
But I love what you just said, because clearly now you do a lot of marketing.
I do.
So your passion for insurance, you realize actually, I love insurance, and you like the selling, but you like the marketing a lot.
I do.
And you found in the insurance, well, there's a crowded space over here, but actually in marketing, there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's like a wonderful example of a journey that found you here. And you made a really good point. Talking to as many people as possible, get out of your own head, right? Talk to as many people as possible. You will learn something. Mm-hmm. Every day you will learn something, just having conversations and asking the right questions. And it just becomes a flywheel of like, you learn, you know more people, and that can compound so quickly. Like, just get out into the world.
Absolutely. And then I'd also say who, not how. So if you are running a business and you're by yourself, the sooner you can find out who can help you drive this business forward and not how you can do it all yourself, you're going to be so much more successful. Shout out to my friend Alberto out there running the Switcher.
Hey, Alberto.
So marketing has changed dramatically over the past few years, especially with AI and digital. And I know you're doing some politics and you have a small business. How has marketing for you changed over the past few years, if it has at all?
And I'll speak also to the kind of broader community, what I've observed. Everyone now wants to understand the story behind the product. And the story behind the product is often the person behind the product, right? The person behind the business. So taking that idea and getting it into your product, and then the product being the angle to which you market, right? You market through your product, you market through your story, and it's all combined in this beautiful package, because that's what customers want, right? And even if you're not even selling a product, say you're selling financial advice, right? You're a registered investment advisor, right? You still want to tell the story of why you and the relationship you have with your clients, and why that relationship that you have with your clients is unique versus what other people in your industry may have, right? But that's storytelling, and that is more important than ever. And then something that I'm probably get better at is taking that story and getting it really concise and to the point. And that's probably where you're quite a bit better than I am, right?
I'll work on it.
That's the key, right? And getting that, okay, now we got the story, we got the person, and we got the idea. Now how to make it consumable and tight. And it's not just about the product, it's about everything behind it that led there, right? I mean, that's really important to highlight.
Absolutely. You know, and I think using video more than anything has been great to tell that story in a really quick moment. What are maybe your thoughts on appropriate ways of using AI for local business?
Where I sometimes get disappointed is when it feels like we're using AI as a shortcut in substitution for the thing, right? And rather than saying, oh, like, let's use it to amplify, to make that person, to give that person a superpower, right? I use this, my wife's an architect, and a lot of architecture is different ways, when you work with a client, it's different ways to show the client the various ideas and options, right, of what
through the drafts.
Yeah, and then when they be drafting, sometimes it can be like literally drafted right by hand. Mostly it's made on a computer. But now with AI and 3D modeling technology, we can 3D print things. So my wife is printing things a lot more often, right? You can iterate a lot faster with AI. So they can now show multiple drafts in different ways. They can now do render 3D image walkthroughs. So, but none of that replaces the core kind of idea generation, and actually a lot of the physical works that you do as an architect to design and model something, but that can then kind of inspire and create all the other stuff, right? And I think that's important. If you're asking AI to draft your copy because you don't want to draft your copy for your marketing, you're just saying, hey, like, this is the product. I've refined this copy. These are the 3 things that I want every customer to know about my product, right? And we're going to drive it home. Oh, but now I want to see if I can take this and specifically tailor it to this customer segment or this community. Or I want to thematically make it appropriate for, the Peach Festival and have like a fun, like, that's a great way to say, okay, I just took the core idea and I just replicated it to be more customized to each of my audiences, but I didn't take a shortcut up front. And that to me is a lot of where AI can be helpful. If AI is doing the work for you, you're just frankly losing the inherent humanness that is even more desired today. Right? Like everyone wants to feel that. They want to feel the authenticity and the realness of it, and they can see when it's not there. So I guess my advice is use it to amplify or to customize or to iterate, but don't shortcut it. Really put the investment in at the beginning, because that's where they're going to see you in the product. And that's the most important thing right now. And then tailoring who you can be to different audiences, that's where I get it.
Yeah, oftentimes I'll use it to create a flyer or something, but then I won't use that flyer. I'll just let it give me some different examples of ideas, and then I'll go build the flyer myself.
Oh, that's another great. It's almost like you're proxying it for, you can't just create 7 friends around you to give ideas, but you've just kind of done that, right? That's a great example of it.
Yeah.
Like they're the input into your work versus you're the input into their work.
We just used Claude AI, and we took framework from, we're doing Center Beach Regional Land Trust, and we were able to generate 5 different websites with their ideas and feedback on what the home pages would look like. They have a huge board, so having input from 7 or 8 people, it can be a lot. You know, so having multiple websites gave them the opportunity to pick from different pieces, and it really streamlined things, because for me to build one draft of a website could take 4 hours. To have Claude AI build 5 drafts of websites really quickly, that was really helpful. We still don't let Claude build the website because it misses a lot of framework for SEO, but it gives us the idea, and it'll have a plugin there, but it's not actually real. It just is a dummy piece. A lot of times we still have to go in and program APIs for your plugins or your features. But AI really helps us get past some of the earlier on code. It's also helped us accomplish framework for building like 500-page websites in a matter of a day instead of a month.
I'm going to take what you said, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
There's 2 pieces. It's great. The inspiration and the execution, I think, need to stay human. Because to your point, execution should be flawless, and they're not flawless. They're like 90% good. The 10% is really obvious when you see it, right?
Yeah.
And the inspiration has to be you too. That's what it's all about. The stuff in the middle is where it can be helpful, right? And that iteration or that process management, but the bookends have to be, I think, the human being driving the outcome and then making sure it's a beautifully executed product in the final product.
What else is something that you're working on that might interest other people in our community?
What I like to highlight, I mentioned I come from a military family, enlisted military, and in the last 12 months we've had something like 40,000 cuts to the VA across the United States.
Wow.
And it's been felt pretty heavily actually in Northern California. So a lot of the work that I'm doing through our family foundation, my wife and I started, is how do we kind of step in and help veterans, particularly in this community. There is a great organization called Nation's Finest, which is now the largest nonprofit serving veterans in California. They do a bunch of work for the VA.
Is there a website?
Yeah, nationsfinest.com. Yeah.
Cool.
And they're expanding actually up farther in Northern California. And they do a lot of work finding veterans who may not have access to services. They find a lot of homeless veterans. They do a lot of like enrolling in different VA programs. So it's just something I always, it's been an important push this year for, I think, communities across California to really fill in the gaps. And that's not just a DC thing, it's a Sacramento thing too. Like, look, like the community has to step up. Like we are entering a moment in our country where things are going to be hard. And I talk a lot about the American dream, and I'm disappointed in our government today. I don't think our elected leaders have done their jobs. That's why I'm doing this. And I say that, I mentioned veterans, but there's a dozen things where we as community members have to step up and fill the gap, because people are powerful and people can move mountains. And I just want to get everyone refocused in the community and get everyone focused on how they can help. I've been doing, I really enjoyed all once a month I come up here and join Jeff Stevens and the crew for Say Love. And I love that organization because it shows you can really have an impact locally if you can get a bunch of people working together. Like one person trying to clean up a homeless encampment of 15 or 20, former shelters, it's gonna take them weeks. And frankly, they'll probably give up at a certain point. you get 200 people to do it. You get a bunch of coffee, and you finish the job in 3 hours, and you'll have a fun lunch afterward, eat some tacos. Like, that's awesome. But it just shows that the power of energy and community together. We're meant to do things together, and we love being in community. Taking that energy and putting it towards people who need help and real problems is what I'm here to do.
I absolutely love Selah.
Yeah.
Jeff, Amanda, they're some of my favorite people. They're so good-hearted.
They're amazing.
They pour their whole heart into the community. I've gone out to some of the Selahs too, and when you see the people that are out there cleaning up, it's really beautiful. It's very diverse. It's a lot of young people making an impact in the community. There's a lot of older people out there making. It's wonderful. Even if you hate doing chores, like going out there is so much fun. Everyone's laughing, like picking up this just nastiest things you can find on the ground, and they're all just skipping around. And it's like such an interesting environment. And I just want to give a shout out to Jeff for being able to pull that out of our community.
Shout out to Jeff. I completely agree.
I get goosebumps just thinking about how beautiful that is.
Jeff's been a wonderful friend, introducing me to different folks around town and making me feel welcome. And yeah, it's funny, right? Maybe this is a boyish thing, but I love picking up trash, man. Like, just something about going from just lugging around with stuff and seeing the beautiful grass after. It's awesome. Like, it's awesome. I don't know what that. I don't know what it is. I just love. You pick things up, you clean things up, you give some fist bumps, some elbow bumps. You're wearing big gloves, or maybe you're not. Like, it's just an awesome way to spend a morning. The sun's out. It's great.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how messy it gets out here until you actually see the night and day difference of a parking lot or an old vacant building lot getting cleaned up, and then putting down that Selah sign. It's a really beautiful thing. You could leave our listeners with one piece of advice today. What would that piece of advice be?
Find something outside of work. Like, if work is what pays the bills, find one thing where you can be part of a community, where you can grow who you are, and where you can grow with other people and do it together. And what that does is, because what I've learned is, we all hold different parts of who we are and our identity, and sometimes work's good, sometimes work's not good. But if you have something outside of that, something you really care about, where every time you think about it, you're like, oh, I'm excited to go do that thing, and I'm excited to be around those people. That gives you energy that just can diffuse into all different parts of your life. And so I just recommend that people kind of think about that. If you feel a little bit empty, even if you don't have any time, this will create time, because it's going to give you energy, and you're going to make new connections, and that's so valuable to being a human, being a person, particularly today when it's harder and harder to do that.
Well, speaking of connections, this is my last question for you. If people want to connect with you, Eric, where would they go to do that?
Email is best, eric@ericjones.us. Website is www.ericjones.us.
Those are both right here on the screen. You guys can see flashing around.
And also, one promise I made, I want to be the most accessible elected leader we have in this community. I will answer every email. I'll answer every text message. We did something like 100 public events over the past few months. We're going to do another 100. That's all across the district. So I've got one later today.
Your dancing shoes must be.
Yeah, it's funny. You can see these boots I got. You can see like the heels wearing down are pretty rough. Yeah, like, please email me. Please reach out. I'll be on the phone with anybody. I'll talk to anybody. I think that's what our country needs right now.
Right on. Well, I want to thank you for coming on our podcast today, and we always end with a high five. So here we go.
Thanks, brother.